growth opportunities in South Africa, but they're always looking at other opportunities. It's not that easy. If you're a bank, there's rules and regulations, and you must get the approval from the banking authorities. But there's opportunities in Africa, maybe even in the East, but there's still opportunities in South Africa.
Right. Okay, so you've got Capitec Bank, you've built up PSG, this is now 2001, so obviously you went on a big expansion, and I know you've invested in other companies. One is the Pioneer Group.
Okay, the
where does that go back?
Our Pioneer Group is interesting. We have seen the old co-ops, agri co-ops. In each and every little town, there's an agri co-op, and then they sort of changed from a co-op to a company. In the beginning, there's restrictions on the tradability, but on those companies, but interesting little companies, and then after a while, they open up for general investment. So we bought in various agri companies. Now, Pioneer, for instance, was held by those companies like Kaap Agri in Malmesbury, Moreesburg, Overberg and Caledon, right over South Africa. We start buying that is 7, 8, 10 years ago. Right. We had the view because Pioneer is a smart company. It's one of the 4 big food companies. We see food and Africa as important for the future. And maybe on that, we can see Pioneer playing a role in food in Africa, and we invested into food companies, one distribution of products in Botswana, and we started a farming operation in Zambia. While the weather in Zambia is fantastic, the government supports us, and water is no problem, big rainfall. And through our agri investments, we are a controlling shareholder in, or a big shareholder in Cape Span, and they are well established, even with harbour development in Mozambique that's doing fantastic. So we see Africa as a growth opportunity in years to come.
Is that in PSG as well?
That's actually in ZR. So sometimes I'm talking
between the two.
Yeah, and you know, for let's say for instance, Cura.
Yes. The education.
Yeah, and the education. Education was always in my life important because that is the fundamental strength of a country. And we studied how, and we didn't know how to get involved in education, let's call it schools. And then in 2009 we came across Curo, and I said to Pete, go and sell them the dream. I wasn't available to go and do a transaction with them. Go and sell the dream that together we can do more. They couldn't never to the build the school is about 50-60 million, and they just didn't have the funds, and we could help them raising the funds. Today we're sitting on 27 schools from 2009 to now, and with more than 20,000 kids at school, and there's numerous plans on currently that we're looking to grow that to 80 schools in 2022.
So what is the future of Jannie Mouton? Because I see you've expanded into Africa, and it seems you mentioned the Pioneer Group, you mentioned Korea on the education side. Where is the next move? Because you mentioned also outside of Africa. Are you concerned about things in South Africa? In terms of what's happening at government level. It's in some businesses very tough to trade because of restrictions and red tape and getting businesses going, especially for smaller, and I'm referring more to entrepreneurial type businesses that want to get going. What do you think is going to drive our economy, and then in related to what you're doing? Because what can people pick up? Do you see hope in South Africa, or do you see it outside of, or do you see it in both Africa and South Africa?
Okay, for me, it's easy. I focus on opportunities, not on problems.
Right.
I often tell people we had no chance to start a Capitec in Europe, somewhere in Europe. It's been done there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no opportunity. So, and the same would go for Nigeria and places like that. South Africa is a fantastic country with numerous opportunities. Mm-hmm. And one should focus on the opportunities, not the problems. Yes, there is problems that, the red tape, the frustration to start a business, it's there. But at the end of the day, that's worthwhile like that. And I think nobody should say in South Africa there is not the opportunity for people who wants to do something good. I often tell my friends, if they are so negative about the country, if you can't see anything positive, then you should emigrate.
Right.
Now it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
If you are negative about a place, why do you sit there?
Yeah.
Emigrate. No, I'm definitely not going to.
Right.
I'm so glad my kids are all back.
Mm-hmm.
They spend some time studying and working overseas for experience. But they're all back, and I've seen one thing: kids coming back to South Africa are doing better than the ones that's remain overseas. It's unreal. I've seen people emigrating back from Australia to South Africa. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the public knows it, but my big friend Paul Harris emigrated to Australia. And after 4 or 5 years, he emigrated back to South Africa.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I tell it on air now. And he can make commitment about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I like your approach in terms you focus on the opportunity. So it's a matter of saying there could be a problem in an area, and if you look at the businesses that you built, education, we had a problem with education. You went in that direction. You had a problem, you mentioned food. I mean, we need to feed the nation, we need to feed the world. You in that particular, you got a big rollout plan there, and then obviously finances. So it seems that you've taken something where there's a problem and you've turned it into an opportunity.
Yeah. Now, maybe I'm in a fortunate position. I'm living in Stellenbosch. That was part of my plan in '95.
Is it related to the Warren Buffett kind of? Because Warren Buffett is in Omaha, Nebraska, which is a very small little town, probably more like Potchefstroom.
Yeah. It's not. I've been there, and we drove past this house because it's some of the only things you can see. But it's not such a small place, because just think of his AGM. There's 35,000 people attending his AGM, so at least there must be facilities to accommodate that. But I think he built that himself over time.
Right.
I think, why moving to Stellenbosch. I was in Johannesburg for 22 years. The traffic is unbelievable. Here you have a relaxed environment. It's easy to come to work. And if you need to go to Joburg, you're not far from the airport, and you have more time to think here, sitting, because you're outside the rush and the mainstream. And I think it's a fantastic place. And I have a lot of friends here. There's a lot of big businesses here, and that's also stimulating.
Well, they say 7 of the top 20 wealthiest people in South Africa were educated at Stellenbosch.
Yeah. To talk about wealth and things like that, that's actually private affairs. To talk about that in public, but it's successful. Somebody asked me the other day, I like to be successful and humble.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's something the papers like to pick up this and that about life, but that's not giving me a kick in life. Yes, it makes things easier, but I still want to do something great and successful. Now, a little, something very small. My daughter has a coffee shop with 3 black guys on Kailicha at the station. And she asked me 2 months ago, have I ever been in a township? Yes, I've driven there once with and she said I must come to their open day on a Saturday, and I was scared, where do I park my car? And it's unbelievable experience for me. And I think more and more of us should join and see. And I've been 2 weeks ago. Kuro has a school in Polokwane, 4,500 kids in a private school. It's an unbelievable experience.